Shocking. If you're older and masturbate, I ask you to watch this video, gentlemen. Let's have an honest talk. If you're over 50, this topic might make you a little uncomfortable, but it's one that every man thinks about at some point. Masturbation. You've probably wondered, is it still healthy at my age? Could it be hurting my hormones, damaging my prostate, or somehow draining my energy as a man? You might not say it out loud, but I know that question has crossed your mind. And you're not alone. I hear it quietly, almost in a whisper, from men in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s who sit across from me in my office, afraid that what they've been doing in private might somehow be sabotaging their health. I'm Dr. Laura, and for over a decade I've specialized in men's health after 50, helping thousands of men protect their prostate, restore their energy, and rebuild confidence in their bodies. And I can tell you right now, the confusion around masturbation and aging is one of the biggest, most persistent myths in all of male health. Too many men are walking around carrying guilt, shame, and misinformation that has no scientific basis. It's time to change that. Before we dive deeper, do me one quick favor. Hit like, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments so I can help you directly. The more we talk about this openly, the faster we break the stigma that's been keeping men silent for generations. Now here's the truth. For centuries, cultures around the world have sent mixed messages about male sexuality. Some said it was sacred and natural, others said it was sinful and weakening. But modern science finally gives us a clear picture, and it's a lot more empowering than you might think. The act of self-pleasure, when practiced consciously and in moderation, can actually support your physical, mental, and hormonal health as you age. That's right. Masturbation isn't the enemy. The problem is not the act itself. It's how and why you do it. Let's start with what happens biologically. Every time you experience an erection, fresh oxygenated blood rushes into the spongy tissues of the penis, called the corpora cavernosa. That process keeps the tissue flexible, strong, and healthy. It's like stretching or moving your muscles. Use them regularly and they stay strong. Ignore them and they begin to stiffen and lose function over time. In fact, studies show that men who maintain regular sexual activity, including self-stimulation, preserve better erectile function later in life. It's not magic. It's physiology. But here's where most men get it wrong. They think masturbation automatically means something unhealthy, as if it drains testosterone or weakens masculinity. That myth dates back to the 18th century when old medical texts linked sexual pleasure to vital energy loss. None of it was based on science. Today, research confirms that healthy ejaculation doesn't deplete testosterone. In fact, moderate sexual release helps keep hormonal balance steady by lowering stress hormones like cortisol and maintaining dopamine and oxytocin, the same feel-good chemicals that protect your brain and heart. What's dangerous isn't masturbation itself, but the silence and guilt surrounding it. Shame creates stress. Stress increases cortisol. High cortisol lowers testosterone, disrupts sleep, and increases belly fat. See the pattern? It's not the act that's aging men. It's the fear and misinformation about it. Once you understand the science, you can let go of that fear and focus on doing it the right way, mindfully, moderately, and without guilt. Here's another truth. Your prostate actually benefits from regular release. Research from Harvard found that men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who didn't. Why? Because ejaculation clears out old fluid and inflammatory buildup inside the prostate ducts. Think of it as a simple form of internal cleansing, your body's natural way of flushing out stagnation. So instead of worrying that masturbation harms your prostate, realize that it might actually protect it. Emotionally, this is about more than science. It's about dignity. As men age, many begin to lose touch with their own bodies. They become cautious, embarrassed, even disconnected from pleasure. But sexuality is not something you outgrow. It's part of your vitality, the same force that drives energy, motivation, and confidence. Ignoring it doesn't make you stronger. Understanding it does. So, I want to challenge you to shift your mindset. Stop seeing this as a guilty habit and start viewing it as a form of personal maintenance, like exercise, hydration, or meditation. When practiced consciously, it keeps your blood flowing, your mind balanced, and your confidence intact. And yes, it can even help you sleep better, relieve stress, and keep your pelvic muscles active and responsive. Of course, like any healthy practice, balance is everything. Too little can lead to stagnation and tension. Too much, or done the wrong way, can cause strain or emotional dependency. The key is awareness, knowing your body, your triggers, and your limits. In the next few parts of this series, we'll go deep into the 10 surprising benefits of healthy self-pleasure and the 10 common risks that can quietly sabotage your progress if you're not careful. By the end, you'll have a clear action plan to protect both your prostate and your confidence for years to come. But before we move forward, I want to remind you of something powerful. Age does not define your vitality. You're not too old for intimacy, for pleasure, or for growth. In fact, this stage of life, your 50s, 60s, and 70s, can be the most liberating and grounded time to reconnect with your body. When you remove the shame and approach this with respect, curiosity, and understanding, your health, physical, emotional, and hormonal, begins to align naturally. So here's your small step today. Reflect on your own beliefs. Where did you learn them? Who told you it was wrong? And how much of that is actually true? Then replace judgment with curiosity. The body you live in has served you for decades. It deserves care, not condemnation. If you found this eye-opening so far, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and check the pinned comment below for a full guide on maintaining male vitality naturally after 50. Because this conversation, the one you rarely hear, could be the most important one you'll ever have with yourself. In the next part, we'll break down the biggest myths about masturbation and aging, and what modern science actually says about your hormones, your brain, and your manhood. Stay tuned, because once you know the truth, you'll never look at your body the same way again. Gentlemen, let's get into the part where confusion turns into clarity. For decades, even centuries, men have been surrounded by half-truths and myths about masturbation, especially as they age. Maybe you've heard them whispered in locker rooms or passed down from traditional beliefs. Masturbation makes you weak. It drains your life force. It lowers testosterone. It causes prostate problems. Or even, it's only for young men. These phrases have shaped guilt, shame, and silence for generations. But here's the truth. Modern science has shattered every single one of them. Let's start with the biggest myth. Masturbation weakens a man. In ancient times, doctors believed that semen carried a man's vital energy, and that releasing it too often would weaken the body. But that theory was born long before modern biology or hormone science existed. Today we know semen is primarily water, proteins, enzymes, and minerals. Losing it does not drain your life energy. In fact, your body replenishes it quickly and naturally. Studies show no evidence that healthy, moderate masturbation causes fatigue or weakness. On the contrary, it can reduce stress and improve sleep, which are essential for maintaining strength as you age. The second myth, masturbation lowers testosterone. This one has scared many men into suppressing their natural urges. But here's what research reveals. Testosterone fluctuates naturally throughout the day, and brief changes after ejaculation are temporary. Long-term testosterone levels are not reduced by masturbation. In fact, one study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that men who maintained regular sexual activity had healthier testosterone regulation than those who were completely abstinent. The key word here is balance. Too frequent or compulsive behavior might cause fatigue, but moderate self-pleasure keeps your hormonal rhythm stable and supports overall vitality. The third myth, masturbation causes prostate problems. This is one of the most damaging misunderstandings. Many older men fear that ejaculation strains the prostate when in fact research proves the opposite. As I mentioned earlier, a Harvard study following thousands of men found that those who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% lower risk of prostate cancer. Ejaculation clears out old fluids and inflammatory compounds from the prostate ducts, like flushing out stagnant water from a pipe. The result is cleaner tissue, reduced risk of infection, and better prostate health. So if anyone ever told you that masturbation hurts the prostate, now you know. The evidence says otherwise. Myth number 4. It causes erectile dysfunction. This is only true when masturbation is done excessively or with unrealistic stimulation, such as extreme pornography or constant tension-based habits. In those cases, your brain can become desensitized to normal touch and arousal, making real intimacy more difficult. But in moderation, masturbation actually supports healthy erectile function by promoting blood flow, oxygenation, and tissue flexibility. It's like keeping your car engine running smoothly. You don't wear it out by using it. You maintain it by keeping it active. The next myth: it's only normal for young men. Many men over 50 silently retire from their own sexual vitality, believing desire should fade with age. But the human body doesn't operate on social opinions. It operates on biology. Testosterone, dopamine, and oxytocin, the 3 key chemicals tied to desire and satisfaction, continue to function well into your later decades, especially if you live a balanced lifestyle. The decline in libido most men experience isn't caused by masturbation. It's usually linked to poor circulation, stress, medications, or low self-esteem. Reconnecting with your body, even through self-pleasure, helps reactivate that hormonal and neurological system. Here's another myth that needs to be buried: it's shameful or unnatural. That's cultural, not scientific. Every mammal on Earth engages in some form of self-stimulation. It's an instinct, not a moral flaw. Your body is wired for touch, pleasure, and release. The moment you attach guilt to it, you introduce stress hormones that undo the very benefits nature built in. Remember this: shame disconnects you from your body while awareness reconnects you. You can't take care of something you're ashamed of. Now let's talk about what science actually says about healthy masturbation. When practiced mindfully, it can regulate hormones, reducing cortisol and supporting testosterone balance. Improve blood flow to the pelvic region, keeping tissues elastic and responsive. Boost mood, releasing dopamine and oxytocin, which promote relaxation and bonding. Support immune function as orgasms temporarily increase white blood cell activity. Promote sleep since the post-orgasm state mimics natural sedation. In short, masturbation, when done consciously, acts like a mini reset for your body, balancing the nervous system, lowering stress, and supporting hormonal health. It's one of the simplest, most natural ways to maintain equilibrium as you age. But there's another layer to this conversation: the psychological one. When you were younger, you may have learned that sexual pleasure was something to hide or feel guilty about. Maybe you were told that good men don't do it, or that it's a sign of moral weakness. Those early messages stick deep inside your subconscious, shaping how you relate to your body even decades later. But think about it: guilt doesn't protect your health, it poisons it. When you approach sexuality with shame, your body responds with tension, anxiety, and hormonal imbalance. When you approach it with respect and calm, your body rewards you with balance, clarity, and vitality. As a men's health doctor, I've seen it firsthand. Men who learn to let go of shame, regulate their habits, and understand their own physiology begin to see improvements in energy, focus, mood, and even sleep. They stop fearing their own biology and start working with it. And that's the shift I want for you. From fear to understanding, from secrecy to self-respect. So what should you take from all this? That masturbation is not a disease, a weakness, or a sin. It's a neutral biological function. One that can either support or harm you depending on how you practice it. Like food, exercise, or sleep, balance is everything. Too little creates stagnation. Too much creates imbalance. Awareness is the line that separates healthy from harmful. Gentlemen, this conversation is about reclaiming ownership of your body, not hiding from it. The myths you grew up with were built on fear, not fact. You owe it to yourself to update that understanding. You don't have to carry the guilt your father or grandfather did. You can choose awareness, self-control, and self-respect instead. If you're finding this helpful, take a second to hit like, subscribe, and check the pinned comment for the extended men's health guide. Because knowledge is power, and the more you understand your body, the stronger, calmer, and more confident you become. In the next part, we'll dive into the first 3 major health benefits of masturbation: how it strengthens your pelvic floor, supports prostate health, and preserves sexual confidence as you age. You'll see why, when done right, this practice can be one of the most protective tools a man has for lifelong vitality. Let's move from myth to mechanism, from what people say about masturbation to what actually happens in your body when it's done in a healthy way. Because whether or not you talk about it, your body already knows how powerful the connection between circulation, hormones, and sexual function really is. When you're young, everything works automatically. Blood flow, arousal, recovery, all of it happens with minimal effort. But as you age, the same systems require more awareness and care. Think of it like maintaining an engine that's been running for decades. It doesn't mean it's broken. It just means it needs regular maintenance to stay responsive. Masturbation, when done consciously and moderately, can be one of those maintenance tools. So let's break down the first 3 scientifically proven benefits, and understand why they matter so deeply for men over 50. Benefit number 1. It maintains penile health. This may sound simple, but it's fundamental. Every erection, whether from arousal, dreams, or self-stimulation, acts like a mini workout for the penis. When blood fills the spongy tissues of the corpora cavernosa, oxygen and nutrients flood the area, keeping the tissue supple, elastic, and strong. Over time, that circulation prevents fibrosis, a stiffening of tissue that can make erections weaker or less reliable. Think of it this way: if a muscle doesn't move, it atrophies. The same concept applies to your sexual organs. Without regular blood flow, the vessels that carry oxygen begin to narrow, the tissue becomes less responsive, and nerve sensitivity declines. That's why doctors often say that erections are use-dependent. The more you maintain them, naturally and moderately, the better your function remains. But it's not just about physical function. It's also psychological. Men who stay connected to their bodies in this way maintain confidence and self-awareness. They feel more in tune with their own energy, less anxious about performance, and more at peace with natural changes. Regular stimulation reminds your nervous system how to coordinate arousal and response, keeping both the mind and body familiar with the rhythm of intimacy. From a medical perspective, this is crucial because poor penile blood flow can be an early sign of cardiovascular problems. In fact, erectile dysfunction is often one of the first warning lights of circulatory disease. By maintaining regular, healthy arousal, you're not only keeping your sexual system alive, you're also encouraging heart health, vascular elasticity, and endothelial function. So when you hear someone say that self-pleasure weakens a man, remember this. The science says the opposite. Used properly, it strengthens and preserves the machinery of life. Benefit number 2. It supports prostate health. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood parts of male anatomy, the prostate. This small, walnut-sized gland sits just below your bladder and plays a vital role in producing seminal fluid. Over time, it's prone to congestion, inflammation, and even cellular changes that can lead to disease. Here's where ejaculation becomes powerful. Each release acts like a cleansing cycle. During ejaculation, the prostate contracts and pushes out old fluid that can contain inflammatory compounds, toxins, and cellular debris. When this process happens regularly, it reduces stagnation and encourages healthy fluid turnover. A landmark study from Harvard University followed more than 30,000 men and found that those who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% lower risk of prostate cancer compared to those who did so only a few times. The mechanism is straightforward. Regular release keeps the ducts clear, reduces inflammation, and helps prevent microscopic buildup that can irritate prostate tissue over time. Beyond the biological effects, there's also an emotional one. For many men, prostate health becomes a source of anxiety as they age. The thought of disease or dysfunction weighs heavily. But knowing that something as natural and simple as regular release can play a protective role replaces that fear with empowerment. You realize your body isn't fragile. It's designed for balance and you have more control than you think. That's not to say more is always better. As with everything in health, moderation is key. Overuse can lead to temporary irritation or fatigue, but complete abstinence may allow stagnation and tension to build. The healthiest approach is regular, mindful release, not as an escape, but as a biological reset that supports your entire pelvic system. Benefit number 3. It strengthens the pelvic floor. If there's one part of the body most men ignore until it fails, it's the pelvic floor, the network of muscles that supports the bladder, bowel, and sexual organs. These muscles contract every time you reach orgasm, particularly the pubococcygeus (PC) and surrounding fibers. In essence, every climax is a form of natural resistance training for that region. Why does that matter? Because a strong pelvic floor means better erectile strength, longer endurance, more control over ejaculation, and even improved bladder function. Many men are surprised to learn that some forms of mild erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation can actually be traced to weak or uncoordinated pelvic muscles. Strengthening them through regular, conscious arousal or targeted exercises like Kegels can dramatically improve performance and confidence. The science is clear. In studies involving men with mild erectile difficulties, pelvic floor training improved firmness and control in over 70% of cases. But here's the interesting part. Even men without dysfunction saw improvements in sensitivity and overall satisfaction. The reason is simple. Those muscles help regulate blood flow into and out of the penis. When they're strong, they trap blood more effectively during arousal and release it smoothly afterward. This benefit also extends beyond sexual health. A strong pelvic floor helps prevent urinary leakage, supports posture, and improves core stability, all crucial for men over 50 who want to stay active and independent. It's another reminder that sexual health isn't separate from overall health. It's deeply integrated. From a psychological standpoint, this benefit reinforces the connection between mind and body. When you maintain awareness of your pelvic muscles, you develop greater control not only over physical arousal but also over emotional response. It trains discipline, patience, and focus, qualities that carry over into every aspect of life. To summarize these first 3 benefits, masturbation keeps the penile tissues oxygenated and responsive. It protects the prostate through regular cleansing and reduced inflammation. It strengthens the pelvic muscles that support sexual function and core stability. None of these outcomes are rooted in myth or opinion. They're biological facts supported by decades of medical research. And together they paint a picture of self-care, not self-harm. The truth is that your body isn't trying to punish you for aging. It's simply asking for mindful attention. The same way you stretch your muscles, hydrate your skin, and exercise your heart, your sexual system needs circulation and care. When approached consciously, self-pleasure becomes not an act of indulgence, but an act of respect, a way of keeping the intricate systems of the body alive, responsive, and balanced. As we continue, we'll explore the next 3 benefits: how masturbation lowers stress hormones, boosts mood chemistry, and deepens body awareness, revealing that its effects reach far beyond the physical. The more you understand your biology, the more you realize that this natural process is one of your most powerful allies in maintaining health and vitality throughout life. Let's continue, gentlemen. Now that we've explored the structural and physical benefits of healthy self-pleasure, stronger circulation, better prostate function, and improved pelvic control, it's time to move into something equally important: the mind-body connection. Because the truth is, your body isn't the only part that benefits. Your brain, your stress response, and your emotional balance are just as deeply affected by what happens during and after orgasm. If you've ever noticed that you sleep better after release or that your mood feels lighter, that's not your imagination. That's chemistry. Human sexuality is one of the most complex biochemical feedback systems in the body. It influences stress hormones, neurotransmitters, sleep patterns, and even immunity. Understanding these effects gives you the power to use them consciously rather than accidentally. So let's break down the next 3 benefits. How masturbation lowers stress hormones, boosts mood chemistry, and improves body awareness. Benefit number 4. It lowers stress hormones. Stress, especially chronic stress, is one of the biggest silent killers of men over 50. It raises blood pressure, disrupts sleep, slows metabolism, and interferes with testosterone production. The main culprit behind this process is cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. When cortisol stays elevated for too long, it begins to work against you, weakening your immune system, dulling your energy, and even shrinking parts of your brain related to focus and emotional control. But here's where masturbation, or more accurately orgasm, plays a surprising role. During sexual arousal and climax, your brain's hypothalamus signals a temporary shutdown of cortisol production. Simultaneously, your body releases oxytocin and endorphins, natural chemicals that induce calm, reduce pain, and promote emotional relaxation. The result is a physiological reset. It's like pressing restart on your nervous system. This is why men often describe a deep sense of calm or relief afterward. It's not psychological weakness, it's a hormonal balance shift. In fact, one study found that orgasm reduced cortisol levels by as much as 25% in healthy adults, improving both blood pressure and heart rate stability. For older men whose stress thresholds are often taxed by work, health concerns, or family responsibilities, that hormonal reset can be therapeutic. It helps restore parasympathetic dominance, the rest and repair mode of the body. In simple terms, it tells your heart, brain, and muscles, you're safe now. You can relax. Over time, that reduction in chronic tension translates into tangible health benefits. Better cardiovascular health, steadier sleep, more stable blood sugar, and even sharper cognition. So while society might dismiss sexual release as a trivial act, biology tells us it's one of nature's oldest anti-stress mechanisms, free, effective, and tailored perfectly to your body's chemistry. Benefit number 5. It boosts mood and emotional health. The next benefit goes hand in hand with the first. When you climax, your brain releases a carefully orchestrated cocktail of neurotransmitters, mainly dopamine, oxytocin, and prolactin. Dopamine is the motivation molecule. It reinforces pleasure and focus. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It deepens feelings of trust and contentment. Prolactin helps bring about that post-orgasmic feeling of satisfaction and rest. Together they create what neuroscientists call a neurochemical symphony. This mix not only improves mood but also helps regulate emotional cycles, particularly depression and anxiety. For men over 50, this matters more than most realize. Aging often comes with hormonal fluctuations, reduced energy, and a gradual decline in dopamine responsiveness. That's one reason why some men feel less motivation or joy over time. Conscious, moderate sexual activity helps maintain dopamine sensitivity. It literally reminds your brain that reward and satisfaction are still part of life. In clinical terms, regular, healthy arousal helps regulate the brain's limbic system, reducing the symptoms of irritability, fatigue, and mild depression. And unlike artificial highs from alcohol or excessive stimulation, this natural boost doesn't deplete your system afterward. It restores equilibrium. Beyond the chemistry, there's an emotional dimension as well. Masturbation, when approached without guilt, nurtures self-acceptance. It teaches men to experience pleasure without shame, to reconnect with their sensual side without performance pressure. This self-connection often radiates outward, improving empathy, patience, and emotional presence in relationships. There's even emerging evidence that regular orgasmic release may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia by improving cerebral blood flow and neuroplasticity. In other words, pleasure and brain health are more connected than most people ever imagined. So when people talk about feel-good hormones, it's not a metaphor, it's biochemistry. And it's one of the reasons why older men who maintain a balanced, shame-free sexual life often report higher emotional stability, optimism, and self-confidence. Benefit number 6. It improves body awareness. This one is subtle, but perhaps the most underrated benefit of all. Regular, mindful self-stimulation helps you know your own body, its rhythms, its changes, and its signals. Every man's anatomy evolves with age. Sensitivity may shift, recovery may take longer, and circulation may fluctuate. When you engage with your body regularly, you develop a deep sense of what's normal for you. That awareness is crucial because it allows you to detect early signs of potential problems. Things like testicular lumps, changes in curvature, or new discomfort that might otherwise go unnoticed. In fact, some of the earliest detections of conditions like Peyronie's disease or testicular cancer have come from men who were simply paying attention during self-stimulation. They knew their baseline and could tell when something felt different. But body awareness isn't just about detecting disease. It's about owning your physicality. Many men disconnect from their bodies as they age, seeing them only as tools that used to work better. But your body is still communicating every day, through muscle tension, breath, heartbeat, and even arousal patterns. When you pay attention to those signals, you start to understand what it needs. More movement, better hydration, deeper sleep, or emotional rest. In a way, masturbation, when practiced mindfully, becomes a form of biofeedback. It teaches you to read your body's cues in real time. It's also a form of meditation, a grounding practice that keeps you present in your sensations, rather than lost in thought or anxiety. Psychologists have found that this kind of self-awareness reduces body shame and improves self-esteem. It shifts the relationship from judgment, "Is my body still working?" to appreciation, "My body is alive and communicating." That change in mindset may seem small, but it has massive ripple effects, especially for men struggling with self-image after 50. When you combine this awareness with the earlier benefits, lower stress, better mood, and improved circulation, you start to see the bigger picture. This isn't just about pleasure. It's about health literacy, learning how your body works, responds, and thrives. Together, these 3 benefits, reducing cortisol, balancing mood chemistry, and improving body awareness, form a trifecta of resilience for men over 50. They help you stay calmer under pressure, happier in your daily life, and more in tune with your physical and emotional signals. This isn't about indulgence. It's about biology. Your body has mechanisms designed to regulate stress, renew tissue, and protect your health, and healthy sexual expression activates all 3. In the next section, we'll take this one step further, exploring how masturbation enhances sleep quality, boosts pelvic circulation, improves ejaculatory control, and keeps sexual desire alive even as you age. These are not just fringe benefits. They're fundamental to long-term vitality, confidence, and longevity. By now, we've explored how healthy masturbation helps your body stay strong, your hormones balanced, and your mind calm. But there are 4 more benefits that complete the picture, and they're the ones most men underestimate the most. Because beyond stress, mood, and awareness, this practice also affects how well you sleep, how efficiently your blood moves through your pelvis, how you control your timing, and how alive your desire remains as you age. Each of these benefits matters more than you might think. Sleep is when your body repairs itself. Circulation determines not just erections but overall vitality. Control defines confidence, and desire, the quiet spark of manhood, is what keeps your spirit young. Let's look at how they all connect. Benefit number 7. It enhances sleep quality. Few men realize how tightly sleep and sexual function are intertwined. During orgasm, your body releases a precise sequence of hormones that shift you into deep rest. Right after climax, levels of oxytocin and prolactin rise, while cortisol drops significantly. Oxytocin is sometimes called the trust hormone, or peace hormone. It promotes relaxation and emotional stability. Prolactin, on the other hand, is responsible for the wave of drowsiness and calm that often follows orgasm. This combination creates a biological transition from alertness to rest. Your brain moves into a parasympathetic state, the mode responsible for recovery, digestion, and deep sleep. In men over 50 whose sleep cycles are often disrupted by stress or fluctuating hormones, this natural shift can be a real solution. It helps your body release tension, lower blood pressure, and trigger restorative phases of REM and deep sleep. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It's when your testosterone is rebuilt, your cells repair, and your immune system regenerates. Poor sleep, in contrast, leads to lower testosterone, irritability, weight gain, and reduced mental clarity. That's why maintaining good sleep is one of the most effective longevity tools available. So, when done in moderation and in the right state of mind, not as a compulsive escape, but as a natural release, masturbation can serve as one of the body's most ancient sleep aids. It's a signal to your nervous system that the day is over, your mind is safe, and it's time to restore. Benefit number 8. It improves pelvic circulation. If there's one factor that influences almost every aspect of men's health after 50, it's blood flow. Circulation is what delivers oxygen, removes waste, and keeps tissues alive. And nowhere is that more critical than in the pelvic region. During sexual arousal, the arteries supplying the penis, bladder, and prostate dilate, flooding the area with nutrient-rich blood. That oxygenation not only strengthens erectile function but also keeps the surrounding muscles and nerves healthy. It's like giving your pelvic region a mini cardiovascular workout. As men age, blood vessels can lose elasticity. Sedentary habits, stress, and poor diet make this worse, leading to sluggish circulation. That's why maintaining regular pelvic blood flow is essential. It prevents stagnation that can contribute to swelling, discomfort, or even early symptoms of erectile dysfunction. Healthy self-stimulation encourages microcirculation, the kind that nourishes tiny capillaries and nerves that standard exercise doesn't reach. It keeps tissues pliable, reduces pelvic tension, and even supports bladder control. This is one reason men who stay sexually active tend to have fewer lower urinary tract symptoms as they age. You can think of it like watering a plant. If you go too long without movement, tissues start to dry out. Regular circulation keeps everything alive, flexible, and ready when needed. It's not about overuse. It's about staying in tune with your body's natural rhythm. Benefit number 9. It trains ejaculatory control. This is one of the most practical benefits of masturbation, and it's often overlooked because of embarrassment. Many men experience changes in control as they age. They might climax too quickly or the opposite, struggle to reach orgasm at all. Both conditions often come down to one thing: a lack of awareness and control over arousal levels. Masturbation, when done consciously, provides the perfect safe environment to retrain that control. Techniques like the stop-start method or the squeeze method allow men to identify the point of no return, the precise moment when arousal peaks, and gradually extend the time before release. This retrains the brain and pelvic muscles to cooperate instead of rushing. This process is essentially neuromuscular training. The same way you'd build endurance in the gym, you're building awareness and mastery in the most intimate part of your physiology. The payoff isn't just in solo practice. It translates into stronger performance, confidence, and satisfaction in partnered intimacy as well. There's also a deeper psychological layer here. Control creates calm. When you're no longer afraid of losing control, anxiety fades and pleasure becomes more enjoyable. That sense of mastery doesn't just improve your sex life. It affects how you carry yourself in daily life. You feel more composed, grounded, and assured. And yes, this can be developed at any age. Even men in their 60s or 70s can retrain their pelvic reflexes and experience a more balanced response cycle. It's not about chasing youth. It's about learning rhythm, awareness, and patience, which often grows stronger with age. Benefit number 10. It keeps desire alive. Desire is the invisible fuel of vitality. It's not just about sex. It's about drive, curiosity, and zest for life. Yet many men mistakenly believe that desire naturally dies with age. In reality, it fades only when it's neglected. The brain is the biggest sex organ in the body. Neural circuits related to arousal, reward, and motivation need regular activation to stay responsive. Just like physical muscles, these circuits can atrophy if ignored. Regular, mindful self-stimulation keeps them firing, maintaining both physical readiness and psychological engagement with pleasure. This doesn't mean you need constant arousal or obsession. It means you maintain a healthy relationship with your own sensuality. You stay connected to what it feels like to be alive in your body. For many men, that connection can slowly erode under layers of stress, guilt, and responsibility. But when they allow themselves to feel again, something remarkable happens. Energy returns. From a biological perspective, regular sexual arousal increases dopamine receptor sensitivity, which supports motivation and focus in daily life. It also maintains nitric oxide production, a key molecule that keeps blood vessels open and responsive. In other words, desire doesn't just make you feel younger. It literally helps you function younger. There's also an emotional dimension. Men who keep a positive relationship with their own sexuality often carry a quieter kind of confidence. They walk differently, speak differently, and feel less threatened by aging. Their masculinity becomes less about performance and more about presence. Keeping desire alive doesn't mean chasing endless stimulation. It means staying curious about life, touch, and connection. When you honor that part of yourself without shame, it nourishes not just your body but your soul. When you step back and look at these last 4 benefits together, you begin to see a bigger pattern. Sleep helps restore your hormones. Circulation keeps your organs alive. Control refines your mastery. And desire keeps your inner spark burning. Each of these benefits reinforces the others. Better sleep improves testosterone, which enhances desire. Healthier blood flow strengthens erections, which supports confidence and control. And with control comes relaxation, the foundation of good sleep and satisfaction. This cycle of renewal, physical, mental, and emotional, is what makes healthy sexual expression so important for men over 50. It's not about pleasure for its own sake. It's about continuing to engage with life itself. In the next section, we'll shift the focus from benefits to balance. Because as with everything in health, what helps you in moderation can harm you in excess. You'll learn about the most common risks and mistakes men make, and how to avoid them, so you can keep your practice safe, grounded, and genuinely revitalizing. Every medicine becomes poison when the dose is wrong. Masturbation too is no exception. While science clearly shows its many benefits, it's equally honest about its potential risks when practiced without awareness. The line between healing and harm is thin, and it's drawn not by the act itself but by how you relate to it. Gentlemen, this next section isn't about shame. It's about wisdom. The goal isn't to stop but to learn how to maintain balance, physically, emotionally, and socially. Just as exercise can strengthen the heart but overtraining can break it, self-pleasure can restore your vitality or quietly erode it depending on your habits. Let's look at the first 3 risks: social isolation, skin and tissue damage, and desensitization. These are subtle at first, but when ignored, they can slowly weaken both body and spirit. Risk number 1. Social isolation. When pleasure replaces connection, the first risk isn't physical. It's emotional. When masturbation becomes a substitute for human connection rather than a complement to it, loneliness can begin to creep in. It's a gradual process, one that often starts with comfort. You tell yourself, it's easier this way. I don't have to deal with rejection, pressure, or expectations. And it's true. Solo pleasure is convenient, private, and free of complication. But there's a hidden cost. Humans are social and emotional beings. We're designed to bond, to share energy, and to experience intimacy not just through release, but through connection. Eye contact, touch, laughter, trust. When you withdraw from those experiences for too long, your nervous system adapts. It begins to find comfort in isolation. Neuroscientists call this neural conditioning. The brain learns what to expect and what to crave. Over time, this can blunt your social motivation, making real relationships feel like effort rather than joy. You start preferring fantasy to reality because it feels safer. This doesn't mean masturbation itself isolates you. It's when it replaces real connection that the danger arises. The solution is balance. Stay socially engaged. Exercise, talk to people, share meals, touch, hug, and laugh. When intimacy with yourself complements your social world rather than replaces it, it becomes healthy and grounding. Remember, self-pleasure should recharge you for the world, not disconnect you from it. It should make you more compassionate, more relaxed, and more emotionally available, not distant or detached. Risk number 2. Skin microtears and inflammation. When pleasure becomes friction, the second risk is more physical, and it's one of the most common issues men experience without realizing it. Frequent or rough stimulation, especially without proper lubrication, can cause microtears in the skin of the penis. These small lesions might seem harmless at first, but they create openings for bacteria, lead to irritation, or even cause mild infections that can become chronic. The skin of the penis is extremely delicate. It's full of fine nerve endings and thin capillaries designed for sensitivity, not abrasion. When the skin becomes inflamed, it triggers a defensive reaction, thickening and reduced sensitivity, much like callous skin. Over time, this can lead to decreased pleasure, delayed arousal, and even minor curvature or scar tissue buildup in severe cases. The simple fix? Respect your skin. Use a high-quality water-based lubricant to reduce friction and maintain tissue integrity. Avoid dry or overly aggressive techniques that strain the foreskin or head of the penis. Be mindful of repetitive habits that create chronic pressure in the same area. Doctors who treat penile injuries often compare them to overuse injuries in athletes. You wouldn't lift weights without proper form, so don't treat one of the most sensitive organs in your body with less care. The goal is not intensity, it's longevity. Also, watch for inflammation warning signs, redness, persistent soreness, or a burning sensation afterward. Those are your body's ways of saying, slow down. I need recovery. Healing, not harm, is the goal. Risk number 3. Desensitization. When the brain stops listening to the body, the third risk is subtle but powerful. It happens in the mind long before it shows up in the body. Desensitization is the process by which your brain adapts to the same kind of stimulation, and eventually stops responding to it with the same intensity. It's similar to how a favorite song loses its thrill when you play it every day, or how caffeine stops working when you drink it constantly. The brain's reward system, centered in the nucleus accumbens, is built on novelty. When you stimulate it in the exact same way repeatedly, same technique, same speed, same fantasy, dopamine release becomes predictable. Over time, that predictability dulls excitement. For men, this shows up as reduced arousal or delayed orgasm. The mind needs stronger and stronger stimulation just to reach the same level of pleasure. Sometimes that means longer sessions, tighter grip, or more extreme visual material. The result? A feedback loop that makes real human intimacy feel less stimulating, even if emotionally fulfilling. The problem isn't the act, it's the monotony. The solution is variety and mindfulness. Change the pace, rhythm, hand position, or even the environment. Engage your senses. Breathe slower, relax, focus on sensations instead of fantasy. Allow yourself to be present instead of chasing a quick high. This approach reawakens the sensory system and retrains the brain to enjoy subtler forms of pleasure. Touch, scent, warmth, and emotional connection. It brings your nervous system back into balance. Another factor contributing to desensitization is excessive porn consumption. Pornography floods the brain with rapid novelty, endless new faces, bodies, and scenarios in minutes. The brain's reward system, overstimulated, starts expecting this unrealistic level of variety. Then when real-life intimacy arrives, slower, more emotional, less visual, it feels less stimulating by comparison. The fix isn't total abstinence unless you choose that path. It's detox and retraining. Give your brain time to reset by reducing visual consumption and refocusing on body sensations. The result is not less pleasure. It's deeper pleasure. Balancing the equation when we talk about these first three risks, isolation, skin injury, and desensitization, what we're really talking about is relationship. The relationship between you and your body, between you and your habits, between pleasure and purpose. Masturbation done with awareness builds connection. Done mechanically, it breaks it. The difference lies in intention. Ask yourself, am I doing this to connect with myself or to escape from myself? That question alone will tell you whether the practice is serving your health or draining it. If it's connection, if it leaves you calmer, clearer, and more present, then it's a healing act. But if it leaves you emptier, restless, or detached from others, it's time to adjust your approach. In medicine, this is what we call adaptive versus maladaptive behavior. Adaptive behaviors reduce stress and improve function. Maladaptive ones numb stress but reduce function over time. The difference isn't moral, it's neurological. As men, especially after 50, we no longer need to live in confusion or guilt. The science is clear. Pleasure can be healing, but only when guided by respect. Respect for your body, your mind, and your relationships. In the next section, we'll explore the next three risks. Those that go deeper into your physiology and emotions. How ignoring signs of erectile issues, nerve compression, and emotional escapism can quietly erode your health and vitality. You'll learn how to recognize these red flags early and how to correct them before they turn into long-term problems. Up to this point, we've covered how self-pleasure can support a man's health, and also how certain habits, when done without balance, can create subtle problems. Now we move deeper into the next layer of risk, the ones that are less visible but far more consequential. Using masturbation to mask disease, ignoring nerve health, and confusing emotional relief with emotional healing. These risks often appear quietly, and because they're not as obvious as physical irritation or fatigue, most men don't recognize them until they've become deeply ingrained. But if you learn to see the signs early, you can catch them before they cause lasting damage. Risk number 4. Masking erectile dysfunction. When routine hides a warning sign, one of the most common mistakes men make after 50 is assuming that because they can perform alone, everything must be fine. They think, if I can get an erection by myself, then there's nothing wrong. Unfortunately, that's not always true. Masturbation and partnered intimacy rely on two different neurological systems. When you're alone, arousal is guided primarily by fantasy and direct stimulation. With a partner, however, your body depends more on parasympathetic function, the system that promotes relaxation, connection, and circulation. If you can only achieve erections during solo activity but struggle during intimacy, that's often a red flag. Why does this happen? Because the body learns habits. When stimulation becomes purely mechanical, same grip, same pace, same fantasy, your nervous system starts associating arousal with that very specific pattern. Anything outside that pattern feels foreign, unresponsive, or not enough. But there's more. Sometimes, difficulty maintaining erections with a partner points to underlying vascular or metabolic issues, such as early signs of diabetes, high cholesterol, or hypertension. These conditions restrict blood flow, and the penis is often the first organ to reveal it. Ignoring this signal can be dangerous because erectile issues aren't just about sex. They're early indicators of cardiovascular health. A man who begins to lose firmness may be developing small vessel disease long before heart symptoms appear. So if you find that your solo erections are consistent but partnered ones are unreliable, don't panic. Investigate. See your doctor. Get your blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure checked. What feels like a bedroom issue might actually be your body's early warning system saying, pay attention, something needs care. True health isn't about hiding symptoms. It's about listening to them. Risk number 5. Nerve compression. The hidden physical strain. The next risk is one almost no one talks about. Nerve compression. It sounds clinical, but it's surprisingly common, especially among older men or those who spend long hours sitting. The pudendal nerve, the main nerve responsible for sensation and control in the pelvic region, runs through a narrow pathway in your lower pelvis. When you sit for prolonged periods, especially on hard chairs or in slouched postures, that nerve can become compressed. Over time, this leads to symptoms like numbness, tingling, or a dull ache in the perineum or penis. Now, combine that posture with habitual masturbation, particularly if it's done while sitting or leaning forward, and the strain increases. Some men even develop a condition known as pudendal neuralgia, a chronic nerve irritation that can cause pelvic pain, reduced sensitivity, or even difficulty achieving orgasm. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires awareness. Change your position. If you must sit, use a soft cushion or support your lower back to relieve pressure. Consider lying down occasionally to reduce compression. Gentle stretching, walking, and strengthening your core muscles all help reduce tension in the pelvic floor. In some cases, chronic nerve compression can also affect blood flow and muscle tone, creating a cycle of stiffness and reduced arousal. By addressing your posture and physical environment, you're not just preventing pain, you're protecting the neural pathways that carry pleasure signals. Remember, the same nerves that transmit sensation also carry signals of pain. Treat them with care. You wouldn't crush a headphone wire and expect clear sound. Don't compress the nerve that connects you to your body's most intimate feedback. Risk number 6. Emotional escapism. When release replaces reflection, this third risk is perhaps the most invisible but also the most profound. It's emotional escapism, using masturbation not as a physical release, but as an emotional crutch. We live in a world where men are taught to suppress emotions. Stress, loneliness, anger, sadness. We bottle them up, telling ourselves, "I'll deal with it later." But later never comes. Instead, many men subconsciously turn to sexual release as a coping mechanism. It's quick, familiar, and provides a temporary sense of calm. There's nothing wrong with using pleasure to relax, but when it becomes the only way to soothe emotional discomfort, it starts to blur the line between coping and avoidance. You're no longer connecting to your body, you're numbing your mind. Over time, this pattern can create dependency. The brain learns, "I feel bad, I'll release to feel better." It's a short-term fix that doesn't resolve the root cause. The stress returns stronger each time, and you need more stimulation to achieve the same relief. That's how emotional escapism quietly becomes emotional exhaustion. The antidote isn't abstinence, it's awareness. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm physically aroused or because I'm emotionally overwhelmed? If it's the latter, try a different outlet first. Go for a walk, breathe deeply, write down what you're feeling, or talk to someone you trust. When you separate emotional need from physical impulse, you regain choice. Sex therapists often remind men that healthy sexual expression flows from curiosity, not compulsion. When you explore your body with awareness, it relieves tension and enhances self-connection. When you do it mechanically, it drains energy and reinforces avoidance. There's also a spiritual dimension here. Understanding that your sexual energy is part of your life energy. When it's expressed consciously, it fuels creativity, strength, and compassion. When it's used unconsciously, it leaks vitality. No emotion is dangerous when faced with honesty. The danger lies in distraction. If you feel stress, loneliness, or boredom, face it, don't drown it. The goal of this practice isn't to escape life. It's to live it more fully with clarity and balance. A pattern worth noticing when you put these 3 risks together: masking disease, nerve compression, and emotional escapism, you see one recurring theme: disconnection. Disconnection from your health, your body, and your emotions. Each of these patterns starts innocently, a habit that feels normal, even comforting. But over time it can slowly pull you away from awareness, from presence, from vitality. The good news is that the path back is just as simple. Pay attention. If your erections change, don't hide, investigate. If your posture hurts, adjust it. If your emotions overwhelm you, express them elsewhere before returning to pleasure. Masturbation should be part of your wellness routine, not a replacement for it. It's a mirror showing you how you relate to stress, to intimacy, and to yourself. Used with awareness, it becomes healing. Used unconsciously, it becomes a mask. And that's what men often forget. The purpose of pleasure isn't to erase pain, but to remind you that you're alive. In the next section, we'll continue exploring the remaining 4 risks. The ones rooted in culture, guilt, and overuse. How shame, overfrequency, reduced sperm quality, and porn dependency can interfere with your energy and confidence. And how to correct them safely without judgment. We've already covered how physical and emotional disconnection can turn a healthy habit into a silent problem. Now we move into the final 4 risks. The ones rooted in culture, frequency, and modern overstimulation. These are often the most misunderstood, yet they affect millions of men, especially after 50. They aren't dangerous because of the act itself, but because of the beliefs and behaviors that surround it. Guilt, overuse, hormonal imbalance, and addiction to artificial stimulation. Understanding these will help you not only protect your health but also reclaim a sense of peace and balance that so many men have lost. Risk number 7. Guilt and shame. The psychological weight that weakens the body of all the risks. This one is the heaviest. Not because it harms the body directly, but because it poisons the mind. For centuries, cultural and religious beliefs have painted masturbation as something wrong, dirty, or sinful. Boys were warned it would make them weak, blind, infertile, or unworthy. Those messages sink deep into the subconscious. And even as men grow older and more rational, the emotional residue of guilt remains. Here's the problem. Guilt creates chronic stress. Every time you experience pleasure while secretly believing it's wrong, your body enters conflict. The brain releases cortisol and adrenaline, hormones of tension and shame. That physical stress blunts testosterone, disturbs sleep, and weakens immunity. In other words, guilt makes the body believe it's in danger, even when it isn't. When this pattern repeats, it builds emotional fatigue. Some men even avoid intimacy altogether because they associate it with shame. Others overcompensate with extremes of control or indulgence. But here's the truth. There's nothing immoral about knowing and caring for your body. Sexual energy is a part of human biology. It's not shameful, it's sacred. Modern neuroscience, endocrinology, and psychology all confirm that self-stimulation, when practiced mindfully, can improve mood, circulation, and emotional balance. If guilt still lingers, the best way to dissolve it is through awareness, not suppression. Recognize that those old teachings were born in eras that didn't understand biology. Let them go. Replace, "I'm doing something bad," with, "I'm learning to take care of myself." The act doesn't define your character, your consciousness does. Risk number 8. Pelvic congestion. When too much becomes too often, the next risk is purely physical but surprisingly common. Pelvic congestion. A feeling of heaviness, ache, or dull discomfort in the groin after excessive ejaculation. You've probably heard the saying, "everything in moderation." This applies perfectly here. While occasional release supports prostate health, excessive frequency, especially multiple times a day over long periods, can cause vascular and muscular strain. Here's why. Each ejaculation triggers strong contractions of the pelvic muscles and vessels. When repeated without rest, those tissues don't have time to recover. Blood flow lingers, creating pressure and mild inflammation in the prostate and surrounding areas. The result can feel like tension, soreness, or a dragging sensation, what doctors sometimes call pelvic congestion syndrome. Over time, chronic overuse may also desensitize the body's pleasure receptors, making stimulation less satisfying and requiring more effort for the same result. It's the biological equivalent of overtraining at the gym. The muscles stop responding because they're fatigued. The fix is simple. Listen to your body. If you notice soreness, fatigue, or dull pelvic ache, take a few days off. Allow circulation to normalize. Hydrate well, stretch your lower back and hips, and engage in light exercise or yoga to encourage blood flow. Most importantly, pay attention to your motivation. If you're doing it out of stress, boredom, or compulsion rather than desire, your nervous system will eventually rebel. The healthiest rhythm is the one that leaves you energized, not drained. Remember, moderation isn't deprivation, it's respect. Risk number 9. Reduced semen quality. When quantity replaces recovery, this risk mainly concerns men who still wish to maintain fertility or simply want to protect reproductive health. Frequent ejaculation, while safe, can temporarily reduce sperm count and concentration. Here's the biology. Sperm production takes time, typically about 64 to 72 days for full maturation with constant replenishment. Each ejaculation releases millions of sperm. When the interval between releases is too short, the body doesn't have enough time to fully replenish the count and quality, leading to temporarily lower fertility potential. Studies suggest that abstaining for 2 to 5 days between ejaculations produces the healthiest sperm quality, highest volume, motility, and DNA integrity. That doesn't mean you need to schedule your pleasure by a stopwatch. It simply means that recovery matters. Even if fatherhood is no longer your goal, semen quality still reflects overall reproductive health, the vitality of your cells, hormones, and nutrition. Weak sperm often parallels low zinc, low testosterone, or chronic oxidative stress, all signs that the body needs more rest, hydration, and micronutrients. A practical guideline for older men: pay attention to your energy post-release. If you feel clear, relaxed, and grounded, your body is coping well. If you feel drained or irritable, you're probably overdoing it. That's your body asking for balance. Your goal isn't to eliminate pleasure. It's to synchronize it with your body's capacity. Risk number 10. Porn dependency. The new epidemic of the modern age. This final risk is perhaps the most pervasive in our digital era. Porn dependency. It's not the same as occasional use or curiosity. It's when the brain begins to rely on digital stimulation to feel aroused at all. Modern pornography is engineered for novelty, endless variety, high speed, and instant gratification. Each scroll, each click releases dopamine, the brain's anticipation chemical. Over time, that dopamine flood desensitizes receptors, making normal stimulation feel dull. The brain becomes conditioned to need extreme stimuli just to register interest. The consequence? Real-life intimacy starts feeling slower, less exciting, or even frustrating. Eye contact, touch, and natural pacing can't compete with the artificial surge of digital fantasy. Some men even find themselves unable to perform without visual stimulation, not because their bodies are broken, but because their brains have been rewired. This condition, often referred to as PIDE, porn-induced erectile dysfunction, is now recognized by urologists and psychologists worldwide. The good news? It's reversible, but it requires a detox period. Reducing or eliminating porn allows the dopamine system to reset. The brain gradually learns to respond again to natural cues: scent, warmth, emotion, touch. It's not a moral choice. It's neurological rehabilitation. During this reset, replace the habit with mindfulness. Focus on sensation, not fantasy. Engage your breathing, slow your rhythm, and reconnect to your body instead of your screen. Over weeks, your brain begins to rediscover real pleasure. Subtler, deeper, and infinitely more fulfilling. Porn, like sugar, is stimulating but hollow. Real intimacy nourishes. The difference isn't excitement, it's depth. Putting it all together, these 4 risks: guilt, congestion, sperm quality reduction, and porn dependency, all point to one truth. Your body isn't fragile, but it is responsive. Every system, hormonal, neural, emotional, adapts to what you teach it. If you feed it shame, it learns fear. If you feed it addiction, it learns dependency. But if you feed it balance and respect, it learns vitality. Masturbation, like any form of self-care, is a mirror. It reflects how you relate to pleasure, control, and self-worth. Guilt says, you don't deserve this. Addiction says, you can't stop this. Awareness says, you're learning from this. The goal isn't to suppress the act or glorify it, it's to understand it. To bring light into an area that's been darkened by silence and confusion for too long. When approached with respect, the same act that once felt shameful becomes empowering. You begin to see that your sexual energy isn't something to be hidden, it's something to be guided. In the next section we'll transition from risk to restoration, from caution to clarity. You'll discover the 10 golden rules, the foundation of a healthy, sustainable relationship with your body. These principles will help you balance pleasure, discipline, and confidence, ensuring your habits serve your health rather than steal it. Gentlemen, by now you've learned both sides of the story, the benefits and the risks. You've seen how masturbation can strengthen your body, regulate your hormones, ease your mind, and even support your prostate health. You've also seen how the same practice, done without balance, can cause disconnection, fatigue, or guilt. Now it's time to take everything you've learned and turn it into a clear, practical framework, a guide you can live by. I call this the 10 golden rules of healthy self-pleasure. They're not restrictions, they're reminders, principles that bring you back to balance every time. When you follow them, you turn an act of habit into an act of healing, and a private routine into a personal discipline that supports vitality, confidence, and calm. Rule number 1. Keep it regular, but moderate consistency matters more than frequency. Too little creates stagnation while too much drains energy. For most men, 1 to 3 times per week is a healthy rhythm, but the real answer is personal. If you feel relaxed, clear-headed, and strong afterward, your balance is right. If you feel tired or foggy, pull back. The body always tells the truth. Listen to it. Remember, your goal isn't just release, it's rejuvenation. You're maintaining function, not chasing escape. Rule number 2. Use lubrication, protect the skin, preserve the sensation. Friction is the enemy of sensitivity. Always use a quality water-based lubricant. It reduces micro-tears, prevents inflammation, and preserves nerve health. Dry or harsh techniques might feel intense at first, but over time they dull the skin and reduce pleasure. Treat your body with care. If you wouldn't rub your eyes dry, don't do it to one of the most delicate tissues on your body. Rule number 3. Mind your posture. Protect the nerves. Avoid hunching over or sitting on hard surfaces for long periods. These positions compress the pudendal nerve, which carries sensation to your pelvic region. If you experience tingling, numbness, or pelvic ache, it's a sign to change position or take a break. Try lying back or standing occasionally. Gentle stretches for the hips and lower back can restore circulation and prevent nerve strain. Think of this as ergonomics for your health. The way you position your body matters just as much as the act itself. Rule number 4. Avoid compulsion. Practice with awareness. Don't let this become a reflex. Before you begin, pause and ask, why am I doing this? If it's out of relaxation, connection, or curiosity, that's healthy. If it's out of boredom, stress, or avoidance, step away first. The key word is awareness. The more you stay conscious, the more your brain associates pleasure with calm rather than chaos. You're teaching your nervous system that arousal and peace can coexist, and that's the foundation of confidence in every area of life. Rule number 5. Breathe and slow down. Your breath controls your nervous system. When you breathe fast and shallow, your body thinks it's under stress. When you breathe slow and deep, it feels safe. Practice deep, rhythmic breathing while you stimulate yourself. It helps you stay present, reduces anxiety, and increases blood flow. Slowing down also rewires the brain. Instead of chasing release, you build awareness and control, training the same pathways that improve stamina and satisfaction with a partner. Rule number 6. Mix it up. Keep the brain curious. Variety keeps the reward system healthy. Don't always use the same hand, rhythm, or fantasy. Change your pace, environment, or even the time of day. Experiment with mindfulness. Focus on sensation instead of visual cues. Novelty is what keeps dopamine balanced. The brain thrives on newness, but it doesn't need extremes. Even small changes, softer lighting, slower rhythm, different breathing patterns, refresh the entire experience and prevent desensitization. Rule number 7. Balance pleasure with purpose. Masturbation shouldn't be the only outlet for stress or comfort. Pair it with activities that build energy. Exercise, meditation, reading, meaningful conversation. When you balance pleasure with growth, your nervous system learns that calm can come from multiple sources, not just one. The goal is integration, not dependence. Sexual energy is part of your life force, not a replacement for it. Rule number 8. Hydrate, nourish, and rest. Your body's fluids come from somewhere, your bloodstream. That means hydration, diet, and rest all affect your performance and recovery. Drink enough water, eat zinc-rich foods like pumpkin seeds or oysters, and sleep deeply. After ejaculation, the body loses small amounts of minerals and proteins. Proper nutrition ensures quick recovery. If you feel drained or foggy, it's not because pleasure is bad. It's because your body needs replenishment. Think of it as refueling the tank after use. Rule number 9. Get regular checkups. Know your numbers, don't guess about your health. Get your testosterone, blood sugar, cholesterol, and prostate checked yearly. Many men discover health issues only after their sexual function changes, but by then the damage has started. Regular screenings help you stay ahead of problems. Something feels off, fatigue, erectile difficulty, or pelvic pain, don't hide it. The body whispers before it shouts. Your doctor's job isn't to judge you, it's to guide you. When you combine modern medicine with self-awareness, you become unstoppable. Rule number 10. Respect the energy. Pleasure is power. This is the rule that ties everything together. Sexual energy isn't dirty or dangerous. It's a form of life force. It's the same energy that fuels creativity, strength, and motivation. How you use it determines how it shapes you. If you use it with guilt, it drains you. If you use it unconsciously, it controls you. But when you channel it with respect and awareness, it empowers you. Approach your body with gratitude. Each time you feel pleasure, recognize it as a reminder that you're alive, that your body, after decades of living, still responds, still vibrates, still remembers joy. That awareness transforms the act from simple release into self-respect. The 30-day awareness challenge. Now, here's something practical. For the next 30 days, treat this as a practice, not a habit. Journal your experience. Notice your energy, your mood, your sleep, and your focus. Are you calmer, sharper, more connected to your body? The point isn't to count days or restrict yourself. It's to observe patterns. You'll begin to see how your emotions, your stress, your diet, and your mindset all affect this one aspect of your health, and how it, in turn, affects everything else. By the end of those 30 days, you won't just know your body better, you'll trust it more. And that trust becomes a quiet, powerful confidence that radiates into every area of your life. When you follow these 10 rules, masturbation stops being something secret or shameful. It becomes part of a bigger health philosophy, one rooted in awareness, self-care, and masculine balance. You stop reacting and start choosing. You stop hiding and start honoring. And that's the point of this entire conversation. You're not here to become perfect. You're here to become present. In the next section, we'll talk about the deeper wisdom behind all this. How to reframe masturbation as self-respect. How to see your sexuality as a sign of vitality, not weakness. And how to carry this new awareness into every relationship and decision in your life. Up until now, we've talked about biology, balance, and the practical habits that make self-pleasure healthy. But this next step is deeper. It's about meaning. Because even when men understand the science, many still carry quiet guilt, shame, or confusion about their own sexual energy. They know it helps them sleep, lowers stress, and protects the prostate, yet a part of them still whispers, "Is this really okay?" So let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This is not only a physical act. It's a relationship between you and the body that has carried you through every stage of life. Learning to respect that body is not indulgence. It's maturity. It's what separates impulse from wisdom. From shame to respect. For most men, the first messages about sexuality came long before real understanding. Warnings, jokes, or fear. Those messages buried the idea that desire equals danger. Decades later, even successful, confident men still carry that echo. They don't talk about it, but it lives quietly in their nervous systems. Yet what if the truth is the opposite? What if acknowledging desire is the act of respect, not rebellion? The human body, especially the male body, is wired for movement, circulation, and release. These aren't flaws, they're features. When you accept that, shame begins to lose its grip. Respect means treating your sexuality like you treat your health, with honesty, curiosity, and responsibility. It's not about pride and it's not about denial. It's about ownership. When you respect your body, you stop abusing it through neglect or excess. You stop hiding from it. You simply listen. The masculine energy of awareness. Many cultures describe masculine energy as focused, grounded, and disciplined. But discipline isn't suppression. It's direction. Just as fire can burn or warm depending on how you tend it, sexual energy can destroy or strengthen depending on how you use it. Awareness transforms the act. When you breathe consciously, slow down, and treat self-pleasure as a dialogue with your body, it stops being mechanical and becomes meditative. You reconnect to pulse, to breath, to life. This awareness has ripple effects. Men who practice mindful self-pleasure often notice improved focus at work, calmer reactions under stress, and deeper empathy in relationships. Why? Because they've learned to stay present, not to rush toward release but to stay with sensation. That same presence becomes emotional intelligence everywhere else. True masculinity isn't about denying pleasure. It's about mastering it, not to dominate but to understand. Turning energy into vitality. Sexual energy isn't limited to the bedroom. It's creative energy. It's the same biological current that drives ambition, curiosity, and joy. When it's suppressed with guilt, it stagnates. When it's wasted through compulsion, it drains you. But when you circulate it with awareness, it revitalizes every system. Modern research supports what ancient traditions already knew. Mindful sexual expression balances dopamine and serotonin, two chemicals essential for motivation and contentment. It also stabilizes testosterone, keeping you assertive without aggression, calm without apathy. That's why many men who find a healthy rhythm, not abstinent, not excessive, report feeling more confident, sharper, and even more creative. They've turned instinct into insight. Imagine that. The same energy that once caused confusion now becomes clarity. The same urge that once felt like a distraction becomes a reminder. A spark that keeps you alive and curious about life. Letting go of the old stories. Here's a truth many men never hear. You don't have to earn permission to feel good. Pleasure isn't a sin you need to justify. It's a physiological signal that your body and mind are in harmony, even if just for a moment. But to reach that place honestly, you must release the stories that no longer serve you. Stories that say good men don't, real men shouldn't, or age means the end. These are not facts. They're cultural leftovers from times when silence was mistaken for virtue. Letting go doesn't mean rejecting your beliefs or your values. It means recognizing that self-care and self-respect can coexist with faith, morality, and discipline. In fact, they reinforce each other. The man who knows his body is the man who controls his impulses, not the other way around. The quiet strength of a balanced man comes from acceptance, not avoidance. Healing the relationship with the body. Every man carries memories in his body, of performance, rejection, triumph, or fear. Some of those memories are gentle. Others are heavy. When you approach self-pleasure with judgment, those memories tighten. When you approach with compassion, they release. Healing isn't about perfection. It's about connection. A healthy sexual relationship with yourself teaches you forgiveness. You begin to see your body not as a machine that sometimes fails, but as a companion that has worked tirelessly for decades. Every breath, every beat, every response, they're all signs of life still moving through you. When you treat your body kindly, it responds. Circulation improves, hormones stabilize, confidence grows. You realize that intimacy, even with yourself, is not loneliness. It's grounding. It's a way of saying, I'm still here. I still belong in this body. Integrating wisdom into everyday life. Self-respect doesn't end in private moments. The awareness you cultivate there spills into everything else. You start eating with more mindfulness, speaking with more patience, walking with more ease. You become less reactive, more centered. You also begin to view relationships differently. You stop chasing approval or performance and start valuing connection. You recognize that intimacy isn't measured by how quickly or how often, but by how present you are, how deeply you can meet another person without fear or facade. This shift often happens quietly. One day you realize you no longer feel divided, no longer one man in public and another in private. You've merged. You've become whole. Age as an advantage. You might think youth is the only time for vitality, but maturity brings something even more powerful. Depth. A young man's arousal is fast and impulsive. A mature man's is steady, deliberate, and full of awareness. As testosterone levels stabilize and the rush of early adulthood fades, you gain space to notice subtler sensations. The warmth of breath, the pulse in your chest, the calm after release. What once felt like urgency now feels like presence. That is mastery. Age doesn't take away potency, it refines it. Your experience becomes your advantage. You understand your rhythm, your body signals, and your emotional patterns. That wisdom makes every intimate moment richer, more complete, and more meaningful. A new definition of strength in a world that confuses strength with suppression. The real courage is honesty. To know your body, to care for it, to speak openly about it. That's bravery. Strength is not pretending you don't have needs. It's learning to meet them responsibly. It's not silence, it's self-knowledge. It's not dominance, it's direction. When you redefine strength this way, you begin to see self-pleasure not as a secret but as self-maintenance. It's the same category as eating well, exercising, or meditating, habits that keep you balanced and capable. This mindset doesn't weaken masculinity, it dignifies it. Living with integration. The goal of all this education and reflection isn't to think about masturbation more. It's to think about it less, because it's no longer confusing or shameful. It becomes just another aspect of holistic health, woven naturally into your life. When you reach that point, you feel grounded. You no longer react out of guilt or habit. You act out of understanding. And from that place, everything, work, relationships, purpose, begins to align. This is what self-respect looks like in practice. A quiet confidence rooted in knowledge. You don't need permission from the world to care for yourself. You just need awareness. In the next and final part, we'll bring everything together. The science, the psychology, and the mindset, into one clear message. Confidence, connection, and legacy. You'll see how to carry this new understanding forward. Not just for your own health, but as an example to younger men who've never heard the truth said out loud. Gentlemen, we've reached the final chapter. Over the past 10 parts, we've stripped away myths, explored the science, uncovered the hidden risks, and built a clear, conscious roadmap to masculine health after 50. But this last part isn't about biology anymore. It's about what all of this means for you, for the men around you, and for the legacy you leave behind. Because real confidence doesn't come from how strong your body is today. It comes from how deeply you understand and respect it. Connection doesn't come from how often you perform. It comes from presence and empathy. And legacy doesn't come from money or status. It comes from wisdom, from what you pass on quietly to others through how you live. So let's talk about the 3 pillars that define a man in his second half of life. Confidence, connection, and legacy. Confidence. The power of knowing yourself. Confidence is not arrogance, and it's not bravado. It's peace. It's the calm that comes from no longer being at war with your own body. When you were younger, confidence may have meant performance. In bed, in business, in life. But as you age, you realize true power comes from awareness. You know what your body can do, what it needs, and how to keep it balanced. You don't chase validation. You radiate certainty. Men who learn to care for themselves, to move, to rest, to express, and yes, to pleasure themselves with respect, walk differently. There's a quiet steadiness about them. They're not trying to prove anything. They've already met themselves. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't fade with age. It grows stronger because it's built on truth, not illusion. You've learned your rhythms, your triggers, your emotional patterns. You know how to recover, not just react. You understand that masculinity isn't defined by what you hide. It's defined by what you understand. Confidence isn't the absence of struggle. It's the ability to face it without shame. And here's the beautiful part. When you live this way, other men notice. Younger men especially see the difference. They see someone who doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but who's comfortable in his own skin. That kind of confidence becomes contagious. Connection. Returning to what really matters. If there's one thing all the science, practice, and reflection leads to, it's connection. Connection to your body, to your emotions, to your partner, and to life itself. We live in a world where technology and stress pull us away from our senses. We spend more time scrolling than feeling, more time comparing than connecting. But when you reconnect with your body consciously, when you breathe, slow down, and notice the sensations that make you human, you return to the present moment. That awareness spills into every relationship you have. You start to listen better. You speak slower. You show up more fully. You're no longer chasing intensity. You're appreciating intimacy. With a partner, that means presence. You stop performing and start connecting. You touch differently, not just to arouse but to communicate safety, respect, and affection. Even outside of intimacy, this new connection changes your entire rhythm of life. You find joy in simple moments. A walk, a sunset, a conversation. Because once you stop living at war with yourself, you stop living in resistance to everything else. Connection is the reward of awareness. When you understand your body, you become more patient with others. When you respect your own energy, you start respecting the world's rhythm too. And here's something most men miss. The more connected you are to your own pleasure, the more compassionate you become. Pleasure and empathy are not opposites, they're allies. When you feel deeply, you understand deeply. And when you understand deeply, you love deeply. Legacy. Leaving more than memories. Legacy isn't about what people say when you're gone. It's about what they become because of you. Every man who heals himself helps heal the next generation. When you break the chain of silence, you make it easier for the next man, your son, your nephew, your friend, to live with more honesty, less shame, and better health. Think about it. Most of us were never taught how to care for our sexual health, how to manage energy, or how to deal with guilt. We learn through trial, error, or secrecy. But you don't have to repeat that. You can be the man who changes the conversation. The one who speaks calmly, confidently, and without embarrassment about what real masculinity looks like. You don't have to lecture. You just have to live it. Legacy isn't a speech. It's an example. When younger men see you healthy, centered, and at peace, when they see that you can talk about body and mind without shame, they inherit permission to do the same. In that way, your personal healing becomes a generational gift. You become a bridge between old myths and new wisdom, between silence and truth. The circle of masculine evolution. When you were younger, life was about proving yourself. Strength, ambition, conquest. In midlife, it becomes about balance, health, purpose, understanding. But in your later years, it becomes about transmission. Teaching, guiding, giving back. The mastery you've cultivated through awareness doesn't end with you. It flows through you. The habits you build now, respect for your body, balance in your energy, patience with your emotions, become the invisible legacy that shapes families, communities, and futures. That's the true meaning of evolution. Not escaping desire, but transforming it into wisdom. You've learned that pleasure is not the opposite of discipline. It's part of it. You've learned that strength isn't rigidity, it's flexibility. You've learned that masculinity isn't domination, it's direction. When you live this way, you don't lose your fire, you master it. Integrating the journey. Think back to where this started. Questions about whether masturbation after 50 is healthy, harmful, or shameful. You now know the full truth. It's none of those things by itself. It's what you make it. You've learned that awareness turns habit into healing. That science supports what wisdom already knew. That moderation protects, mindfulness empowers, and shame destroys. More importantly, you've learned that pleasure, when guided by respect, becomes a spiritual practice. One that keeps you young not by denying age but by embracing life. The journey we've walked together isn't about indulgence. It's about integration. It's about uniting mind, body, and spirit into one cohesive, conscious manhood. This is how you carry yourself forward, not as someone trying to hold on to youth, but as someone embodying wisdom. Not as someone hiding from desire, but as someone guiding it with dignity. A closing reflection: when you wake up tomorrow, take a moment to appreciate your body, not for how it looks but for how it has served you. Decades of movement, strength, mistakes, recovery, and perseverance. All of it has brought you here. You are not a collection of hormones or reflexes. You are a system of intelligence, capable of learning, adapting, and transforming at any age. Your worth was never measured by performance. It's measured by awareness, by how honestly and compassionately you can live within your own skin. So as you go forward, remember this. Your body is not your enemy. Your desire is not your weakness. Your awareness is your power. Stay curious. Stay kind. Stay connected. Because in the end, that's what this whole journey has been about. Not masturbation, not performance, not guilt, but understanding. Understanding that vitality is not lost with age. It simply changes form, from urgency to wisdom, from noise to clarity, from fear to peace. And when you live from that place, you don't just age gracefully, you lead powerfully. I'm Dr. Laura, and I want to remind you one last time. Your body isn't broken and your masculinity isn't fading. They're evolving, waiting for you to meet them with the same respect, awareness, and strength that have carried you this far. Stay strong. Stay conscious. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It begins every day you choose to care for yourself without shame, without fear, and with the quiet confidence of a man who finally understands his own power.